What is up, everybody? Is your guy Tyler here with Mom's Basement MMA, and I have a fucking stallion today. Look at him, man. We got Luis the Stache Hernandez. Man, you look crispy today. I like the pink shirt, and yeah, man, that caterpillar, and look at the Bret Hart sunglasses. That is freaking cool. So, I'm a bit of a bad motherfucker myself, as you can.
Without a doubt, man. I guess we're competing to see who has the nicer belt.
Yeah, well, you're going pro, so you have to give your belt back, right? And then
yeah, you get to keep that one.
Yeah, that's right, motherfuckers. But on a serious note, Luis, man, having watched your career so far, you have put up a perfect record, 5-0, and 5's the magic number in Florida, right? As soon as you hit 5, you can go up. Is that right?
Yes and no. If you have an Olympic background for wrestling and a crazy background, they do make some exceptions. But for everybody like regular Joe Schmoes, at least 5 amateur fights.
Was that always the goal right out the gate, to get 5 and then go up, or did it just work out that way?
Yeah, so training with so many pros at the gym, it was like, man, I'm doing, good with these guys. Why am I going to stay? Because another thing is sandbagging, and then there's people that are like, you see here in Florida all the time, 10, 15 fights, 20 fights. Are you scared to go pro? What are you scared about? You say you're a fighter. I don't claim I'm a fighter, but these people that claim, do your fights and go pro. That was my thing. Get those 5 and go pro.
I think one of those divisions is how serious are you about it? Are you a hobbyist? Or is this something that you really want to take to the next level? And that is what separates. And that's not to imply that people who don't decide to go pro aren't good or anything like that. Far from it. But hopefully people get what I'm trying to say. Is that really discerns who really wants to take this another step further and who is just happy doing this as a hobby. Because in my opinion, and again, I'm not trying to talk down about AMI fighters. Everyone has to start somewhere. But to your point, if you've done 13, 14, 15 fights and you're still in the AMI scene, that's enough for me to start asking what's going on, because there's only a limited amount of time in your life that you can do this. You have a limited window. I know you're a young guy, but by the time you're my age, dude, you aren't going to be doing this. You're going to have other things going on in your life, and when you're almost 40 years old, dude, that shit just... I drank one more of these than I should, dude, and I feel that shit. My whole weekend is fucking ruined. And I can only imagine what that's like when you're fighting at a competitive level at any point. And I kind of wanted to shift down a gear and talk about your training specifically. You're at Freedom Fighters MMA in Miami, Florida. And I had the privilege and honor of speaking with Marcos Lloreda earlier this summer. He trains out of there, and I know that you guys train together, and I was hoping you could talk a little bit about your experience training with Marcos and then the rest of the guys at Freedom Fighters.
Gotcha, yeah, man. Been about 4 years with him, and I've been around most of his camps. I'm actually going by later to the gym. He's actually fighting, I guess, in about 15, 16 days. So it's just that atmosphere that if you're training with the pros, you're training with the best of the best, you just we're feeding, we say joking around, but we're all feeding off each other lately. Me, Marcos, I got another guy, Justin Vasquez, Oliver, all these guys that, we're just trying to win. Winning is everything. So just getting that atmosphere and our coaching over there, Manolo Lopez, multiple time, kickboxing, striking world champion and stuff like that. And the grappling coach, Ray Fundura, we're just getting the best of the best. And we're getting these Cuban wrestlers that come by. One of our head coaches in wrestling, was the only guys to beat DC Cormier twice. He was on the Ultimate Fighter, Michel Batista. You know, I get to go with that guy. It's like, man, you wrestle with that guy, you're just, you know, you're like, hey man, I can wrestle with some of the best.
And I know that just in the conversations I've had with Marcos, I know that he is trained with Yoel. I know that he's trained with Alex Caceres and just other people in particular. And I know that you guys are roughly the same size. He's a little bit taller than you, but by all accounts, you guys are roughly the same height. I know your last bout was at 70. Are you going to stay at 70? I know that's where Marcos is. Or are you going to go back up to 85?
Yeah, I'm going to actually go back down to 70. Okay. You know, I would say the weight cuts for me are, you know, like I've done since December about 6 or 7 weight cuts this year. Even though I've had 5 fights, I've had some that, you know, fell out.
Sure.
I've done those weight cuts. So, you know, your body takes a little bit of a toll, but I'm sticking to 70 because like my coaches said, hey man, my head coach jokes around. He's like, hey, you're a thicker Kobe Covington, you know, at 170. And he's like, man, if you really want to make this happen, you got to stay at 70 because 85, you're dealing with these animals, Yoel, Adesanya, all these guys that are 6'4", you know, 6'3", 6'4", whatever the case, you know, and closing that distance and reach.
So you're 5'10", so yeah, if you fought at 85, it would definitely look like a Kevin Gastelum kind of situation.
Yeah.
Almost exactly. And Kelvin just said he was going back down to 70, and I'm like, thank God. Like, this guy, I've been saying this for years. Kelvin at 70, if he can key in his diet, he is so much better at 70 compared to 85. So I'm happy that you at 70 is just a freaking force. I think that's the perfect. Yeah. I think that's the perfect class for you size wise, and just like the strength that you have. I don't think people typically see at your weight class. Can you talk a little bit about? We know Marcos is 70, and stylistically he's a lot. I would say after watching all of his fights and all your fights, stylistically you guys are not really all that similar. You come from a grappler heavy wrestling base, and I would say Marcos has a striking base, predominantly boxing is what he likes to do. Your sparring and your training together must be amazing for both of you because you're throwing stuff at him that he probably hasn't seen, and vice versa. Can you talk a little bit about sparring against him and
it's amazing. It's amazing, man. Like usually we get a couple rounds in, you know, every twice a week for sparring, and it's like we try to, you know, I get the striking part from him. Like I absorb, like he's actually helping me out on Saturdays. He's coming in and teaching me another hour that I can't get. So everything that I can get off him, I'm literally absorbing it. And then the wrestling, it's just, you know, I'm, you know, doing my end, giving him the wrestling look. You know, whoever the fighter is, I know they're not going to put as much pressure, you know, that wrestling like I do. That's my honest opinion, you know. And it's just like we it's like yin and yang, you know. We go with each other and we literally feed off each other.
I think that's incredible. I really do. And I think what people are going to think if they don't do their homework on you, well, there are a few things, and we'll kind of get into that. But first and foremost, they'll look at your tape. They'll see that you like to shoot early and often. You're able to get top control. You're able to maintain top control and do whatever it is that you want. So and then a professional at that next level, when you go to that next level, people are going to say, like, okay, I've seen this before. Like, there are guys like him that are out here that, they're amazing on the ground, but we're going to make this a stand-up fight. I'm going to keep my distance with him. I'm going to stuff anytime he tries to shoot on me, and we'll see how he does standing up on his feet. And when you can spar week in and week out with a guy as gifted as Marcos, that is like an ace that you have up your sleeve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and not just him. We have like other guys at the gym that are really good striking. That I'm like, when we spar, I try to stay more of striking, you know, get that look. Because it's not always going to be a wrestling match. You know, something I take from Khabib, everybody knows what he's going to do, and he's going to do it. You know, so my thing is pushing that pace. And if I get the takedown, I get the takedown. If we stay standing, we stay standing. Wherever I got to take it, we're going to take it, you know?
From outside of a discipline perspective, I like there are a couple things that stand out to me as far as like your physical intangibles. But first and foremost, it's strength, just pure brute strength. I don't know if you've ever fought against a guy competitively who's stronger than you, because that is the one thing I see right away. Like just the sheer strength that you have against these guys. I think there's like a huge gap there. I really do. And has anyone ever stuffed any of your takedowns?
I think my third fight, I took like an ugly shot, but I actually caught the guy with a jab and a straight, and he later told me, he's like, "Yo, I didn't even know where I was at. Honestly, I was just trying to survive." And then it was like he stuffed it for like one takedown, and then like not even 20 seconds later, I took him down.
I think one of the things that you will really have, and I won't give anything away, and I'll edit this out if you want me to, but you can like fake like you're changing levels and then throw a head kick up at somebody. I bet that's something you drill all the time.
Yeah, there's so many things that I drill that I just, people haven't seen it because I don't, not that I want to stay there and do a battle with the guy, but I want my career to last. And the people want to see violence. People don't want to see a 3-round fight unless you're both standing toe to toe and you're trying to kill each other. That's the way I look at it. I want to go in there and give the people what they want.
I think if you are a grappler or if you are predominantly a ground fighter and you're on the AMI scene, you kind of have a lot of shit going against you. I'm a huge fight fan, so I think I have the card where I have that kind of card where I can play it and I can say whatever I want. I would rank a lot of like the typical fight fans like slightly below NASCAR fans, particularly on the AMI scene. Like you go to like a bar, people just want to see a fist fight. They want to see blood. They want to see teeth get knocked out. I don't know if your common drunk guy at the bar really has a very like keen understanding of mixed martial arts. What half guard is, what side control is. I don't think they really understand that like you're really limited on what you can do. Even if you do get it on the ground, you can't throw elbows, and that's like a huge part of the game. You're also limited for the knees too, but elbows are that's such a huge like tool to have in your arsenal, and you can't even use it.
Yeah.
There have been times I can only imagine. I had the pleasure of talking to Tyler Jones, who is a lightweight, and he is a ground fighter predominantly. And he's like, dude, I cannot fucking wait to go pro. I cannot fucking wait to throw that first elbow. You've got to be itching to throw that first one, man.
I'm itching, and it's just like you see it there. Like like whenever you're on top of somebody, you're like, man, if I rip this elbow, I'm going to split this guy open like a piñata. And it's just like amateur now in Florida, they're allowing for you to throw it standing if you have more than 3 fights and you both agree to it. Most guys are like, man, it's amateur. I'm not going to, agree to that. So, yeah, I'm itching. I have that itch, just, like, hey, let it rip and see what comes from it,
Let's talk a little bit about just like your career as a whole. And let's pretend I'm not a fan of you. Let's pretend I'm a hater, which, shocker of all shockers, did you know that there are haters on the internet? Did you know that?
Oh, they're everywhere, and I love it. I literally feed off of it. I have so many of those, and it's just like, I appreciate it.
I bet people give you a lot of shit for a lot of different reasons, and let's talk about what the haters might say about you. So, first and foremost, they're going to say, Louis the Stache, like, this guy's a clown. He doesn't take anything seriously. I mean, look at him. He's there it's all fun and games with this kid, but he's not taking it seriously at all. That's going to be the first thing. Mm-hmm. And I always kind of laugh when people say that type of shit because it's like, does he look like he's kidding once the ref puts his hand out and does this and you see him go? Does he look like he's kidding? Not to me, it doesn't. Like, he's in there to knock people out. So I guess I want to pause there. Like, I'm sure you've gotten a lot of shit over the years for people more or less saying what I just said, say those silly things about you.
Yeah, so people who know me personally, they know I'm a happy-go person. I'm always nice. I'm always joking. So if they find out I compete, they're like, you compete? you fight? And I'm like, yeah. So I get that all the time. They're like, yo, this guy's always laughing and smiling. You see me at the weigh-in smiling. I'm smiling because I got bad intentions, and I'm putting in the work. People are like, nah, man, you work full-time and you train full-time. And I'm like, man, I train every single day. Literally, I got a bike set up right here so I can literally ride bike on my off time while, I'm with my girlfriend. And I'm just riding bike and I'm going to the gym, getting my sessions in. And I'm like, man, I like it. I like all these haters. Keep thinking I'm a joke till I'm in front of you. It's not going to be a joke when I make it.
The other hater-esque saying that you probably get a lot is you look at all the fights that you've had and people are going to be like, this guy hasn't fought anybody. He's fought guys that were making their debut. He fought this peer dude who's 3-2. Everyone else, they've either made their debut, and then the last guy that he fought was a scrub. A lot of people are going to say that. Yeah. Like, people don't really take the due diligence. A lot of people make judgment reactions. They will look at somebody's record without deep diving and find out, like, okay, when did these L's happen? Who did they fight against? Mm-hmm. What was their experience level? So, like, when you've dominated, Lewis, you've dominated everyone that you fought. So when haters say something like, you haven't fought anybody, you fought a bunch of scrubs and people with no experience, like, what would you say to somebody who would say something like that? I'm sure you've heard that too.
No, look, the first guy that I actually fought, he went on a 3-fight winning streak, Daniel Morrison. He then lost to another guy, Fernando Reyes, which was undefeated like me, and he just won a title. So the guy, all his losses are to good people. I'm saying good, but people that, have gone undefeated. Then Pierre was actually 4-2, and he had, I think, 2 kickboxing matches. And he had beat somebody from my gym. And then, let me see, the last guy was actually a D3 wrestler. I never wrestled in college. And he had never been beaten that fast. He's always last, maybe a minute. The quickest he's lost was, like, I think, 1 minute 30 seconds. He's never lost under a minute. And, he's usually goes second, third round, whatever the case. And he had almost 11 fights, and I only had 4. So, they can say what they want, but my thing is I'm getting finishes. I'm not going to the judges.
And you know what? Like, I would say, just kind of as, like, just the random dude that you have the misfortune of being on an MMA podcast with, I would say that, there's no pleasing everybody. Like, no matter what you look like, no matter what you do, no matter how you conduct yourself, it doesn't matter. There's always going to be people that talk smack about you. You could go out tomorrow and beat Colby Covington, and people would still say you're trash because, Colby hasn't fought anybody. Like that ridiculousness happens and exists in the in the casual MMA realm, right?
The couch talkers.
The couch talkers, exactly. The people that we won't even get into them. And I'm glad for a guy, like, you're a young dude, but if you have that sort of mentality where you're not going to let seep into here, that is key, because a lot of people, and at any age really, like, you hear enough shit online, you start getting a following, your name starts getting out there, people start knowing you. That might be a little bit more difficult. So are you kind of, like, prepared to, like, get up on that bigger stage and, like, mentally kind of, like, deal with what is the pros and cons that come with going to that bigger stage?
No, for sure, man. I've watched a lot of these people on UFC Embedded, like Darren Till. I love what Darren Till does to trolls. You troll the trolls, and that's how I'm big on that. Like, man, no, your words are not gonna hurt me. And you can talk all the shit you want until you don't get in that cage with me, or you think you could actually go up against me. It ain't gonna bother me. With the career that I'm in, people talk mad shit, and I got to deal with it. You can't always get mad. You can laugh about. I laugh about everything. And
that is one of the things that really blows my mind, is the amount of shit talking that, like, fighters get. In talking to a lot of fighters, I was surprised when a lot of them will often tell me, like, yeah, dude, I don't really talk about fighting. Like, you either know or you don't know. Because if I talk about it, like, everyone wants to, like, kick my ass or feels like they have something to prove against me.
Yeah. I don't talk. I'm not one of those people like, oh, yeah, I'm a fighter. I don't claim to be that. I don't claim that. I rather my actions speak for themselves. That's the way. I'm a big believer. You could say everything you want until you can't prove it. Doesn't really matter.
For people who haven't seen you fight before, how would you describe? So I've hinted at it a couple times. Like I like your takedowns. You get top control. Like you drown people and punish people on the ground, and it's fantastic to watch. For people who have never seen you fight before, how would you describe your fighting style?
I would describe my, saying as finishing style. I would love to, get a standing KO, but my thing is wherever I need to go, I'm just looking for the finish. I don't want to leave it to the judges. That's something that I got from Justin Gaethje. He goes out there to literally pure violence. People want to see him fight because it's like you're gonna go out there and you're gonna get your money's worth watching us try to literally hurt each other, kill each other to get that W. Get that finish. Somebody's gonna get hurt.
You get in the cage, your adrenaline is going, and it's not to say you don't feel certain things, but because I'm sure you do. I don't care how much adrenaline or how many endorphins you have going through you. If you get kneed in the freaking head, you're gonna feel that shit, and it's gonna hurt. Yeah. But there are a lot of things that happen over the course, whether it's sparring or whether it's in the cage, that you probably pick up and you don't feel until a few minutes afterward, until everything starts calming down. And then all of a sudden it's your knee is 3 times the size, or your rib hurts, or your hamstring hurts. Injuries is part of the game. And I wanted to ask you, for your job, and then just with all the other things that you got going on in your life, I know you have to be a pretty active guy. How do you manage to just take care of yourself and stay healthy and to mitigate the effects of the injuries? Because they're inevitable in this game.
Yeah, injuries are inevitable, but I try to actually go to a White Lion Therapeutic. I go to her at least, I would say, if it's twice a month, even if it's for recovery, and just I'm on top of my vitamins. I'm trying to eat as healthy as possible. And I GLS pharmacy, they got me on my other supplements, and I'm just trying to stay as healthy as possible. Anything could happen. I'm always worried. There's stuff that I do in training that, let's say if I get caught in a submission, I'm not going to be the type of guy oh, my ego, I ain't going to tap, let him snap my arm. No, I got to go to work the next day. And my thing is, let's say I get caught in an arm bar. Let's say I ain't going to get caught in that arm bar again. You got me once. That's not going to happen again. As an example, if I get caught in a heel hook or something like that in practice, wow, you beat me in the gym. Congrats. This isn't going to happen in the cage though. It's a different ballpark. At the gym, I don't want to be the gym champ. That's not something that I'm looking for. I'm looking for being a real champ, winning where it matters. That's why, I train hard, but I train smart.
Yeah, I think that's key, and you're hitting on something that I think is really important. I spoke with Josh Frem. He's a 185-pound middleweight for LFA. He'll be fighting in October. I'm really looking forward to seeing him get back out there. He moved to Denver from Pittsburgh, and the reason why he moved was because he's I felt like I was the best guy in my gym. So he went to Factory X in Denver, and he's when I first got there, he's dude, everyone was kicking my ass, and I loved every second of it. Mm-hmm. He's if I wasn't getting my ass beat, how do I know I'm getting better? He's dude, I knew relatively early on, even as an AMI, that when I was in Pittsburgh, I was the best guy in my gym. He's I was 22, 23 years old. That's way too soon. He's that's not good. So he put himself out there, and I think that's great. That's what the gym's all about. It's about training. It's about getting better, and they're your teammates. Yeah. You guys are supposed to beat the hell out of each other to make each other better.
Yeah, and my coach says, sometimes you're the hammer, sometimes you're the nail. If you're always the hammer, what's going to happen when you get that other guy across the cage who put in the same work? And that's where it shows your willpower. Is this something you really want to do? And that's something that with the rounds that I get in my gym, I'm not trying to grapple everybody all the time. That's why I expose myself to other parts of the game where I say, listen, like you said, somebody stuffs your takedown. What are you going to do? you're not gonna be like, oh my god, you know, like you gotta be ready for that. And that's what people don't know. I put myself in bad positions at practice all the time, just so I could say, okay, if I get put in a bad position, I know what needs to be done. Because you can't always live on that everything's gonna be fine. I'm gonna go in there and take the guy down. Listen, man, it's not always gonna happen.
I love the fact that, and I'm such a huge fan of his that I can't stop talking about him. But like Marcos, I love the fact that you train with him, because if you train with a guy that good, there's going to be times that happen often. I don't care how good you are. I don't care if you're in the UFC. I don't care if you're in Bellator. If you train against Marcos enough, he's going to put you in a position you do not want to be in. That guy can hurt you big time. And the fact that you can stand up and spar against a guy like that, that's like a testament to it's like, okay, let's say a guy like Marcos, let's pretend you're fighting Marcos in an example. You shoot, you don't get it, then what? Like, oh shit. And some people don't train for that.
You see that those people get exposed. Because, let's say you get to a Bellator level, UFC level, you have everybody's going to have, some type of grappling experience. You have these guys that wrestle college, great. I couldn't get that college or Olympic wrestling, great. But what happens when you get a guy that has decent grappling, too, and he stuffs your takedown, and you're like, whoa,
I tell you what it looks like. It looks like Alex Caceres versus Chase Hooper. That's exactly what it looks like. And I know that Marcos and I were talking about that fight, and he was just like, I trained with him for that fight, and I knew exactly that's how that fight was going to go down. And I'm very glad that you're already talking and alluding to the fact that, as I get into a bigger pond or the ocean when you go pro, you're going to have to think outside the box sometimes. Like, it's not always going to go your way, and you're training from a point of where you're already uncomfortable or you're in a compromised position. I think that's so important, and it shows that it's not about your ego and it's about staying humble, because it's only going to make you better at the end of the day. And I would imagine that's probably the mentality for most of the guys that are in your gym.
Yeah, and like I've said, what's the point? Like I tell the young guys, because I'm saying I'm a little bit more vetted in, but what's the point of trying to kill each other inside of the gym? You want to get to the fight, and put yourself in those bad positions, and get better, expose yourself to like, oh damn, this is what I need to fix. So that moment you're gonna have a guy that's gonna do it to you. You're gonna say, damn, I did that in practice. That you're that. When I fight, everything slows down. I might get nervous a little bit before,
sure,
but I don't even say nervous. You see me in the back and I'm dancing and singing. This is my happy place, But if something were to happen, I'm not gonna be like, the way I perceive it is, I'm not gonna be like, oh my god, because I put myself in those positions and I know what needs to be done.
Lewis, you're supposed to fight at Titan FC 72. Now you got injured. The bout wasn't able to happen. We had to withdraw from that. Who are you supposed to fight for that bout?
So it was first with one guy, and then about 3 days before, or actually 2 days before, they had to get me another opponent. So it was like pretty much in the loop. I was just training to fight. I didn't care who it was. Just weigh in and let's fight.
Does that mess with you? Like, let's say I always ask this question because in the back of I understand it's part of the business. Fights fall through all the time. It's going to happen to you at some point in your career. But when you are fighting on the professional level, like, the shit counts now. Like, you could be training for a Muay Thai guy and he gets Rona or gets hurt and he has to pull out, and then all of a sudden you're fighting against a jiu-jitsu dude in 3 days notice. Like, from a training aspect, does that like mess with your mind at all, or are you at a point where you've been there, you've done it, you see it, it doesn't, you don't really care?
I've been like, not to say that it happened to me a lot, but in the amateur scene, it was like my last couple fights. My second fight, I didn't have an opponent till the day before the fight. My fourth fight, it was a guy coming from California, which was like, I don't even know if it's gonna happen. And then my last amateur fight, it was pretty much, I had one opponent, and then 2 days before, they're like, oh, it's gonna be this guy actually because this guy got Rona, and then they're like, no, it's not gonna be him. We got you somebody else the day before. So it's like I'm already used to this, like, hey, pulling out and people doing that. I'm like, man, whoever it is at the end of the day, if I know I put in the work, and I tell my old man, I'm like, man, if I'm putting in 6-7 days a week, multiple times a day, nobody is gonna be. You know, I'm just putting in that work, and like with the level of guys that I'm getting, it's just like, man, the level that we have at our gym, and if you put in the work, you know, it doesn't matter who they put in front of you.
I'm glad that you said that, because I would understand if there was some anxiety, like, oh shit, like I trained for a Muay Thai guy, I'm not getting a Muay Thai guy now. And it's easy for me to talk shit not being a fighter, because I'm not in there. I'm not like in your shoes. I can't. There are a lot of things that I'm sure that I will never understand about fighting, because it can only be explained to somebody who's done it. I get that. From the outsider, though, looking in, it's like you have the talent. That's why you train at a good gym. That's why there are people from all different disciplines, hopefully, that go to your gym. So you drill these types of things. Exactly. And once you're in the cage and the door shuts, you're not going to think about it. You're just going to go and execute. And speaking of executing, we know that you're going to be making your professional debut soon. Mm-hmm. Better now. Got the injury behind us. We got. Will it be with Titan or
yes.
Is that still? Yeah. It will be. Okay.
Yeah, I got a 4-fight contract with them.
Do you have a estimate for when that bout will occur?
I don't want to say a date right now.
Okay.
So I don't know. I'll be lying to you if I tell you.
Okay, so hopefully it's soon. And I want to talk a little bit about the business side of fighting. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of professionals that are at your gym, and honestly, again, I hate to, he's like the Candyman, man. He just keeps coming up. Yeah. I learned so much about the business side of fighting and just talking to him and talking to Marcos. Yeah. There are so many things that he told me that I did not know that was like certain things were a thing. I didn't know until he told me these things. And so like when you sit back, you're professional, you will be a professional, you train with professionals all the time. Is there some hesitancy or like anxiety about like the business side of fighting?
Not really. Luckily, I fell into the same management and same manager, which he's the best, Dave Arvello from First Round, same guy that Mark has and Justin. And it's like the business part of it, I'm not really, like that doesn't really, my thing is go in there and fight, as right now, I'm not like, the figures, I'm not looking at that. My thing is get my name out there and have the people like, hey, that guy is going to be something, that's what I'm looking for.
If hypothetically, and again, we could edit this out if you're not allowed to say, if, I don't know, Tyler McFistface gets Rona and can't fight in the Contender Series, and they're like, yo, we want this Hernandez kid, can you leave?
I don't know how that works exactly, but I'm pretty sure like if there's an opportunity for it, I'm pretty sure there's a way around. There's always, if there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure they wouldn't like, because I know that's another thing that I like about this promotion so much. They've had so many guys from that level go to the Contender, go to the UFC, and it's just like, that's why I'm like, man, I actually really, really like that promotion.
They're really good. I like Titan. I like, for the East Coast, I think I like Titan a lot, and I like CFFC. They're both really good. And so I wanted to like shift gears and talk, Lewis, about like your long-term goals. So we're on a 4-fight now with Titan. It's an excellent promotion. Like, where is it that you want to be? Like, are you agnostic in terms of like from a promotional standpoint who you want to be with, or do you kind of like already know? Some guys care about that, some guys don't.
I'm honestly not one of those guys like, oh, I'm sticking to this promotion.
Yeah,
I'm not like that. My thing is fighting and getting a following behind whichever promotion I go. I want my fans to go with me and watch me perform. you know, and people will go see you wherever you fight. So, like, my thing, if it's a Titan, Combate, PFL, Bellator, UFC, LFA, whatever the case, I want to be known for finishes. This guy comes for violence.
That's yeah, man. Like, I think one of the things, it's good to have an open mind. I understand, like, there are a lot of young guys out there that are like, yeah, man, I want to be like 155 lightweight champion of UFC. And I'm like, okay, well, that's great, man. Like, that's fantastic. Understand that's the deepest weight class in the world of any promotion. You're talking about the UFC. Like, I applaud your ambition, but at the same time, it's like, so you're telling me right now, if Bellator rang your phone and we're like, yo, we need a 55er, you tell them to fuck off? Like, come on, man. Yeah. Like, you have to go where the opportunities are, and I understand if the UFC is, like, your thing. I get it. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, you kind of have to, like, the opportunities find you. Exactly.
And if I want to get paid my worth, once I get to that level, I want to get paid for what I am and what I bring, not just the fighting part about it, but the entertainment side. You got to sell yourself, and people you have to have a persona. They don't want this guy that's I fight, like, come on, bro. We can find any Joe Schmo and, they say the same thing. And I have goals. Yes, I do. But I have a my motivation. One of my guys is Forrest Griffin. A lot of people don't know he was actually a cop before he went to the Ultimate Fighter, and he had to get permission to go, and that's like one of my motivations. You got from a cop, he left law enforcement, and he became a UFC champion. Or a world champion. Let's just say a world champion. You got another heavyweight. I don't want to say his name wrong. He's fighting this weekend on UFC 266. He's a Philly cop. He's from Philadelphia.
Chris Daukus.
So that's like a motivation for me. If he could do it, why can't I do it? That's just stuff that feeds me. It's like, man, you see these guys, I'm training with some of the best guys in the world, and, we're having competitive rounds, and why can't I do it? My career, I love it. I want to keep doing it, but I want to chase that dream. I don't want to say in 20, 30 years, damn, I should have done this, and have that regret.
You need to, because there's a limited window that you can do this. Mm-hmm. It's very, very limited, unless you're a heavyweight and you're too small to be a heavyweight. But if you're like 6'6" and like 300 pounds, I'd be like, yeah, dude, you could probably fight till you're 40. But everyone else, it's like you have a limited amount of time that you can do this. And you look at like some of the purses, and let's just talk about the UFC, for example. The UFC, from what I know to be true, so don't quote me exactly, so it's kind of like water cooler talk. I could be wrong. Yeah. But from what I know, it's a 10 and 10. It's a 10 and 10, and that's like the standard entry-level contract for most people that are going into the UFC. For people who don't know what that means, it means you get $10,000 to show up. So if you lose and get crushed, you get 10 grand. If you win, you get 20. That sounds like a lot of money, but I promise you it isn't. And the reason why is because there are all kinds of expenses that go into account. These guys have to pay for their gym fees. They have to pay for their coaches to go out there. They have to pay for their travel expenses. Management, lodging, food. There was also, keep in mind, there was an entire training camp that they just did. That costs money. When you start doing math and you start divvying up what that payout was compared to how many hours they put in, these guys are paying themselves less than minimum wage in almost every instance. If you're in this business to make a lot of money, you're in the wrong business. There are way easier places to make money. And I always really try to like get people to understand that like not everybody who's in the UFC is loaded. Like the people who are loaded have been there for a long time. And it's about marketing, it's about promotions, it's about getting a base and getting people to like know who you are. And that's fighting. It's almost weird because like in a way fighting kind of becomes the easy part. Like you go to the gym, you like doing that, you like sparring. You like you like the actual fighting part, but then there's all the other shit that you have to learn how to do. You have to learn how to be a businessman. You have to learn how to market. You have to learn about promotions. And I mean, that shit's got to be way more difficult than fighting, right?
Exactly, yeah. And there's so much stuff that goes into it. And that's why you see a lot of these fighters that should have retired and they got to keep fighting. You see they have like full on CTE and they're just like, hey, I need that check. I need that check. And, you know, you'll see it even in the lower scene. You see it even more. These guys with huge records and they get tagged once and they're out. And, you know, they get sent to the shadow realm. That's what we say, the shadow realm. And it's just because they need just that little paycheck. And, you know, just like an idea, I know since I'm going pro, but I've actually invested all the money that I get from work. You know, I have my money set up, but I'm investing into my equipment, my nutrition, my therapy, everything. And it's like, I haven't seen a dime, and I'm not going to see a dime maybe till like, my 6th or 7th fight, like let's say pro, you know, because I every time I, you know, fight or, you know, I waste, you know, say I get money on the tickets, if that, I waste that money on, you know, new equipment or whatever the case.
Yeah, man. Like, I would say this: if you cover mixed martial arts like me, or if you're a fighter like Lewis, there are way easier ways to make money. I promise you, because like,
for sure,
it is a freaking grind. It is, and you have to do it because you love it. And I hope you get those opportunities. I hope that you get on a UFC 10 and 10, or wherever, and get in a place where you can be maybe a little more adequately rewarded for the blood, sweat, and tears that goes into this. Because this is just Tyler speaking. The payout is a fucking disgrace. It's a fucking disgrace, and it pisses me off to no end. That's why, like, there are a lot of people, and I don't like to do like the holier than thou. I'm not about that. I'm just a regular dude. I'm nobody special. I have a regular job just like everybody else. I'm not special. I refuse to like go online and hustle fights. I won't do it. I won't fucking do it. And the reason why is because it's like, I understand that a lot of these fighters or whatever don't get that revenue. I understand that. But I feel like if I legit go out and buy a fight, that's another argument that could be had. Like, look at the sales for this pay-per-view about. We should be getting a piece of that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. So when I start my own promotion, man, you guys will get a piece of the pay-per-views, dude.
Yeah, man. Hopefully.
Dude, I'm going to have an unsanctioned steroid division. I was telling Lewis about this.
In Mexico, right?
Yeah, in Mexico, because I just don't see me getting a license anywhere. Maybe in Mississippi. That's probably it, though. I just don't see anyone who would be willing to sign off on this fucking shit show fight promotions or whatever. Lewis, before I let you go, I put together like a hype reel of sorts for you, and it goes back, and it's we're hitting on the fights, some of the fights that you've had, and people are going to see certain things about you. They're going to see the takedowns, they're going to see the dominance, they're going to see you getting into a cage against another man and doing what the fuck you want with him.
Exactly.
For the little amount of time that you're in there. And I want you to talk to people like, what is it that they need to know about you before they watch that?
Yeah, that's another thing that we, you know, not that we joke around about, but it's like on the way up, I was actually with Marcos, and we're listening to like this Viking music, you know, like crazy music. And I tell him, like, there's a couple of things in life that you love, but there's nothing like taking another man's will and just crumbling in front of him. Like, that is the best feeling. That's the way I say it. Like, breaking somebody's will. That's my thing. Breaking them. Khabib does it. All these high-level guys, they break people's will. And that's something that I love. Like, man, it's like, yo, you're literally getting another grown man and you are putting him in his place, and there's nothing he can do about it. And he knows what you're going to do, and you're literally going to still do it. You know, that's what I love about it. It's like, you know, gladiators, that, you know, that guy's like, yo, don't go against that guy. Guy's going to kill you. You know, like, pretty much that's the same way I look at it. You know, they know what's going to happen, and it's just like, that's my game plan. however I go, I don't want it to go to the judges. Shout out my gym, Freedom Fighters, Manolo, Ray, Mark, Jacob, Justin, Francesco, my main training partners, Oliver, which he's going to be fighting actually in October for the Contender Series. My sponsors, GLS Pharmacy, Healthy Kitchen Miami, White Line Therapeutic. I'm actually working on some other sponsors, and then actually Alpha Combat Gear for hooking it up with some gear. And my girlfriend, man, she helps me out big time. So,
Well, Lewis, we appreciate your time, and it was an honor speaking with you. I cannot wait for your debut. And you guys need to follow this guy on social media. It's, again, the promotions are a big part of what this sport is all about. I'm sure that he'd appreciate the love. Enjoy the fights.